Hello, thanks for clicking on this video. The purpose of this was to give you an idea of what you may have in store for you if you decide to coat your own floor yourself. I use the Armor Poxy products out of New Jersey. The garage that I have here is roughly 1,200 square feet. So I decided to go with the medium broadcast epoxy base coat and the polyaspartic top coat. Just a small FYI, when you get the products in the 3 and 5 gallon buckets, the epoxy is in individual containers within those 5 gallon buckets. And they're already pre-measured for you, which I thought was really great. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So having done one of these before, I can tell you that the finish and the longevity of your flooring is purely on how well you take care of the prep phase. We washed and swept the floor 3 times because this is a brand new home and I was having to compete with the sawdust on the walls. So this step, definitely take your time. So I also failed to mention that I opted in for using the primer that they provide. I think was a really great idea, and we were trying to determine how much primer we needed to put down at each place. So watching this video, you can see me trying to pour out the proper amounts and then just kind of squeegeeing everything out. I will say that we started out pretty thin because you're just worried of running out of product, but Armor Poxy really gave us quite a bit. So by the end of this part of the stage, we had a whole lot more left over. So we actually went back over at the beginning and evened it all out, and it came out looking really great. So having done one of these epoxy floors in the past at my dad's house, we were always plagued with the floor sweating. Mainly because we live down here on the Gulf Coast. You know, in the spring and the fall, we have the big temperature swings, you know, from anywhere from 30 degrees to like 80s in the afternoon. So the floor was always sweating, and it created, you know, safety concerns and things like that. So I was really worried about needing a vapor barrier or not. I had asked a few of the neighbors in the area if they've had any issues with sweating, and everyone told me that if the construction workers do the planning right when they pour the concrete, that they lay that plastic down, you don't really have that much of a problem. Even though that doesn't take care of the actual temperature swings, it does help with the moisture rising up through the concrete. So I didn't think that I needed the vapor barrier this time, so I guess this is just a waiting game. We'll see how it goes. I also forgot to tell you one thing to do in the prep phase after you've washed and dried the floors, to make sure you tape up those around the edges of the walls. If you look closely, you can see just how much we got paint on those walls, so it'll really make your floor pop later. This is also the first base coat that we did. You can see how glossy it looks. It's really thick and it just came out looking beautiful. I also wanted to give you a warning. If once we started laying this second base coat here, is when we start putting on the spiked shoes. Just know that these floors are really slick when you're trying to lay this stuff down. So be very careful. Your feet are going to slip around. So take small steps and just move slowly. This stuff is really thick and it goes on nice and even. Armor Poxy really gives you quite a bit of product. So just keep thinning this stuff out with those rollers and it will turn out looking great. Don't be scared to lay it on fairly liberal. Just really lay it out there and work it in as much as you can. It'll self-level and you just don't want to be left over with a bunch and have to go back over it again. So the idea that I had right here with the single piece of tape was from the edge of the garage on the entry. I guess the regulation is it has to be at an angle for like 10 feet. It's at a grade. So because I work on a lot of cars and hot rods and that sort of thing, I wanted to kind of create somewhat of a warning track for myself with the flakes. So from that paint strip, from that piece of tape all the way to the doors is going to be all flakes, so that if I'm laying on the floor working under a car or something, I can always see when that grade starts to change. So I thought that was a good idea. So from here, this is where we started to do the flakes after the second base coat. While the floor was still wet, my nephew brought a cordboard box with us, and we just lightly did the flakes around the edges just to keep it within the area that we wanted. And after that, we just did like a full broadcast of the flakes. I decided to go with black and white. Turned out looking really good. Unfortunately, what you're not going to see in this video, because I'm just not the best at recording stuff, is once everything dried, I just went and got my vacuum cleaner and just went over it a few times and was able to pull up all the flakes that weren't attached to the epoxy, and it did a really good job. It looked really great. I wasn't able to film the whole top coat, the polyaspartic top coat, but what I will tell you is you got to work really fast, double up on the amount of people that you can have working with the rollers. It'll only make things easier, and that stuff sets really quick. So like I said, this is a 1,200 square foot garage, and we had a total of about 20 minutes to do the whole thing. So the way I did it was I broke it up into 3 sections, and that way I was able to lay the epoxy down evenly throughout the whole garage. So here at the end is a few pictures of the finished product, and I think it turned out really well. The epoxy is really thick. You know, for whenever I have engine stands and engine hoists and stuff like that rolling around on the floor, this stuff is really going to be able to take a beating. And I really wanted to thank Armor Poxy for helping me out with the purchase and everything. Well, that's all I have for this project. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll answer whatever you need, give you any kind of advice that I can. Yeah, but appreciate you sticking around for the video. Thank you.